Well, good evening, everybody. It's me, Mitch, and I'm here, and I'm enjoying this music. And this music is something special. This music, well, let me put it to you this way. I'm going to let it play a little bit in the background, even though the song is ending now. But I got an email today. Hey, old guy, from Music Man. And this is a fellow who's got a channel, Skydiver Canada and he says he follows my channel, and he's noticed that I like little music in my videos, and just so happens he's a musician and a music producer. He says, now if you like saxophone music, I'm your guy. So he sent me an original song here to use however I want. So I imagine, hopefully, that it's not copyrighted. But this is the song that he sent. And I saw in the comments somebody said, sound a little like Kenny G. Yeah, and the style is a little bit like Kenny G. Let me turn it up for you a little bit because it's really pretty. Anyway, I thought that was incredibly nice of him. Thank you. His name is Matthew James. Thank you so much. I did email him back and told him I was going to open up my show with it, and I hope he's watching. Got a chance to hear it on the air. So if you're in the house, let us know. Anyway, I thought that would be a little different way, other than the same old song that I usually use to open, in case you miss it. It's that one. At any rate, that was nice. Nice switch. In case you don't know it, I am a jazz fan, and traditional jazz. I like smooth jazz, but always, when I was a kid, growing up in Philadelphia, we had a radio station on FM, WIBG in Philadelphia, and they played jazz. And from the time I was 5 or 6 years old, I went to sleep every night with that station playing on my radio. I got hooked then, and I've been hooked on that kind of music my whole life. And I love music. Play the guitar. You all saw in one of my videos, I attempt to play the piano. So the chat's been active. We have 58 people have showed up early, and good for you. And I enjoyed seeing people active in the chat during the 5 minutes. Actually, there were some people here a half an hour before I started. So it's good. It's good to see you, and we'll go over the chat in just a few minutes and say hello to people. My short disclaimer, I am not a doctor, and we're talking health and nutrition here, and anything that I say, I don't want you to construe as medical advice. It's just my own experiences doing a carnivore lifestyle, talking about what's happened to me. And you're free to do what you want, but don't run out there and tell people, Mitch told me to do it, and it hurt me. It's up to you. And don't just take my word for it either. Listen to some of the other guys too. Well, it's like summer. It's been like summertime down here in Florida. I guess it's maybe starting to warm up a little bit up north, where a lot of you are, and I'm sure that you're enjoying it. I've been managing to pump out a video every day, but I did see a comment go by. Somebody actually missed my old guy in the morning rant on Monday morning. Yes, I tried. I really tried. I tried so hard that by the time I get done recording one video after another, I think I had completely smoked the whole cigar. And after I calmed my ass down, I pretty much reviewed some of the footage and said, nah. No, my listeners, my viewers are not ready for this version of Mitch. And the reason was so many things, so many things, so many absurdities, and not just in the field of nutrition, but so many absurdities in this world that I heard about, read about, saw on a brief time. I could even watch the news, but in the YouTube videos that keep coming up on my feed, had me in not the greatest mood, not the greatest mood. And while I Scooby the dog says, what version of Mitch is this? This is the happy Mitch. I'm fine now. I'm fine now. I made 2 or 3 videos since yesterday. The people in our private community have gotten some pre-releases here of the ones. They got the one today that came out. I gave it to them yesterday, and tomorrow's video is out there for them. So I'm a day ahead of schedule, which is great, which means I can relax and not have the pressure, because it is. A lot of people don't realize that if you're doing it by yourself, and I am doing it by myself. I know that I got a comment yesterday that asked me if I have a cameraman working with me, and no, I don't. I do it all myself. I have 2 main cameras that I use to film my videos. One of them is the DJI Pocket 3, the Osmo Pocket 3, which has a gimbal on top, and you can set it to lock on you and just follow you around. So when I move, it moves, and it just tracks me all over the place. And got a comment where one guy, he was, I don't know if he was serious or half joking, but he said he was getting a little seasick seeing me move around that much. And unfortunately, when I do that, when I edit and I zoom in close up to my face, and I usually do that when I want to emphasize a particular point, I'll cut in close to me. Of course, the background's going to move by that much faster. And if I made anybody seasick, I apologize. Problem is, I have a hard time just standing still and talking, because if I stand still and I'm not doing something, then I'm thinking about what I'm saying, and then I screw up. When I'm not thinking about what I'm saying, when I turn my brain loose, my subconscious, when I turn it loose and just let it go and don't try to consciously prepare what the next sentence is going to be, this stuff just comes out. And that's how our brains work. Sometimes the magic happens when you stop trying to control it and you stop thinking about it, and you just let that power, that powerful brain that we have that controls everything, you let it go, and it forms the thoughts. You've programmed it with a concept you want to get across, and it just comes out. I still, when I edit my videos and watch them for the first time, who is that guy? Who's that guy? Where's that stuff coming from? It's not scripted. It's not rehearsed. But it just happens, and we're all like that if we let it happen. It takes a while. Being nervous or having stage fright or jitters gets in the way of that. But after you do it enough, you relax and you just talk. And the good news about making a video is you get a chance to edit it. The bad news about doing a live stream like this is I should be nervous, because I can't take back anything I say. But I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. I just feel like I'm talking to a bunch of my friends. But Monday morning, I was in rare form. I don't think I would have been very happy with the comments that I would have gotten on those videos. So discretion being the better part of valor, I decided, nobody will miss it. And sure enough, I get some comments. Where was your Monday morning rant? I will hopefully have a better weekend this weekend. Maybe I'll hide out more and not listen to the insanity that's going on everywhere, and the stupidity and the corruption and all the propaganda. And come Monday morning, I'll be happier. In reality, Monday has no meaning for me. I have a 24/7 job with YouTube. I don't get the weekends off. One day, ever since I retired, one day has always been just like another day. In fact, I like Monday better because while everybody's at work, I go out and do my shopping. The stores aren't as crowded. Everybody's busy doing something else. So my disclaimer's out of the way, and I did make a few notes about things I wanted to talk to. I wanted to thank everybody. I want to thank you so kindly for the fabulous comments that you leave for me on my videos. I'm not thanking the 2 or 3 people that are just morons. I'm thanking all of you that hang in there with me and tell me that you're getting some benefit from this stuff that I spew out on a daily basis. That's gratifying to me. I love it. I love it. And it keeps me going. So you all know who you are, and even though I'm up to like 26,400 subscribers, seems like it's the same couple hundred people that are steady, show up all the time, watch the videos, comment on the videos, and I'm getting to know most of you by name. I recognize your handle names. The ones that make it a little hard to keep track of are the ones where you didn't pick a channel name when you went and initially registered, and your channel name is user and some cryptic looking bunch of letters and numbers afterwards. And I don't see your actual name. I see an initial sometimes in a circle, and that's about it. So some of you, I recognize Coco, one of my regulars, because I see the C and I recognize the bunch of hieroglyphics after it. but it's hard. But when I see a name in there, it makes it much easier for me to respond. And if I know your name, I really make an effort to respond personally and call you out by name in my response, because I feel that if I'm doing this, then there is a personal connection between me and you, and that's important. That's important to me, and I hope you know that I'm aware of that, and I'm continuing to try to answer the hundreds of comments I get on each video. I don't know how some of these other guys do it. I don't know how these guys like Ken Berry with 3 million subscribers. I guess they can't. But I'll do it as long as I can. And if I slack off a little bit in the future, I hope you all understand that it's just overwhelmed me and got to the point where I just didn't have the time to sit down. And I try to at least read them, but to answer them takes more time. So, what did I want to talk about tonight? Oh yeah. Let me start to say hi to some of you, because this chat is rolling by. And let me get rid of some of these annoying things on the screen like that. And we'll get rid of that banner that's scrolling across down there. That looks better. Well, we're almost up to 100 people. So let me go back up to the top of the chat here, and we'll start saying hello. Jerry Bell was here early. He says, hello, meet people. Jerry seems to always catch about a half an hour before I start. He comes in. Kurgan60. Those of you in the private group will know him. That's Juan. And he says hi to Jerry. Jerry Bell's just pulled a ribeye off the griddle, and Juan and Jerry are talking, and Donna Couture came in, said hi to everybody. I suppose that I could make an attempt to put some of these things up on the screen like this. Robert Warris says, nice shirt. This shirt, I have, I think I may have told you that when I had a big belly to hide, I only wore these tropical shirts. And I have a closet full of these things. They're gorgeous, they're high quality, they're fabulous. And when I wear them now, it appears as though I bought them from Omar the tent maker. Let me demonstrate. Let me give you the profile view here. This is Mitch now. This was Mitch back then. Mitch now. Mitch back then. I can't wear these in public anymore because it looks like my mother dresses me funny. But I love them. And other than the fact that the shoulders are drooping down because they're such big shirts. When I'm doing like a headshot like this, shoulders, head and shoulders, it doesn't look too bad. And I thought, I really should wear them because they're really very pretty. I normally wear t-shirts all the time. In fact, I never get dressed up. I don't go out anywhere. So, but thank you for the compliment on the shirt. I appreciate it. I don't know how well the colors are coming, but this is gold and black. It looks a little beigey on my computer monitor, but it is gold, different shades of gold and black. And I wish I could somehow get these things to shrink down to mediums, which is the size I wear now, where everything kind of fits nicely. But for the time being, I'll wear the tent. Donna is saying hi to everybody, and Viking 442 is here. How you doing? Rosie Red from up in New Smyrna Beach. How you doing? And speaking of Coco, there she is. Richard Williams, always here, and still in Copper Hill, Tennessee. I haven't heard from the other guy, Richard, lately up there in Copper Hill, so I don't know what happened to him. His name was Robert something or other. One More Doll likes my setup. There it is. I'm a technical guy. The more buttons, the happier I am. This button here that I'm putting my finger on, when I push this button, it changes the scene back to that. Where was I? One More Doll. And here we have Dizzy Willow. Yo, 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 he says. Tammy, I missed you yesterday morning, Mitch. What happened to your rant? There you go. Well, I explained it, Tammy. Maybe it would be, I ought to do this. I did 4 complete takes on Monday morning. 4 takes. Like I say, I smoked the whole cigar trying to get out a video of my Monday morning rant. And the more I did it, the more aggravated I got. Controlling my language became difficult. But it might be fun if I have some spare time to go back and take that footage. It's still on my camera. And maybe edit out the best of and see if I can't put together a video which I might call Mitch Unhinged or Mitch Unfiltered or something like that, and give it an adult-only rating or something. But I don't normally get that way. But anybody that knows me knows that I'm a passionate guy. I am a passionate guy, and I'm especially passionate about right and wrong and evil and doing things intentionally to hurt people. And It's not the anger. I don't get angry. I get just disgusted. It's just disgust. And when that takes over and I'm on a rant, look out. Look out. I've always been that way. And I mean what I say. Had such a hard day, even on carnivore, had an anxiety-filled day. Came home to eat ground beef. One more doll. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Hang in there. Let it do its job. One of the things I'm going to talk about a little later, and I've talked about it in videos before, and I keep getting reminded of it constantly in everything I see, not only in my comments, but on so many other channels whose videos that I watch, is unrealistic expectations about this carnivore miracle and how long it, in all reality, is going to take to fix things, to actually fix things. You'll see some good results right off the bat, but I've been at this now for over a year and a half without a, excuse me a second. I've been at this since the 1st of August in 22. And in that time, I can honestly say I have not had an intentional gram of carbohydrates other than what is in an egg or a steak. I have not had a single vegetable or fruit or grain or piece of bread or anything, or even a chaffle, which I used to make when I was on keto because it had mozzarella cheese, which has lactose in it. It's a milk, milk sugars in it. I still, after a year and a half, am seeing positive changes that weren't there 6 months ago, after I'd been on it for a year. I see positive changes in my body shape, in my energy levels, in my gut functioning, still repairing itself. And I understand why. It took a long lifetime of screwing all these things up. Even if it would take 3 years to finally completely. Listen, we know that we still have plant sterols in our cells, especially in cell membranes, that will take 2 years to completely be replaced by real cholesterol, real animal sterols. 2 years. We know that it can take years for the body to clean out the little deposits of oxalate that it's put away in all kinds of hiding places and in our joints. It's not going to happen in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. Now, in 30 or 60 or 90 days, you will be able to overcome the cravings, get rid of the habits, because you can stop a habit in 30 days. But the real cellular level repair work can take years. And midway through my second year now, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing slowly, I'm seeing the improvements in my body composition and everything else. And that, unfortunately, is not what people want to hear. We're a culture of instant gratification. We want that magic pill that'll fix things, so in an ideal world, we can go back to doing all those things that killed us tomorrow after we took the pill and fixed everything. That's the allure of Ozempic and Wegovy and the weight loss drugs. No matter how much they cost, it took me a lifetime to put on this extra 100 pounds. All I need is this magic pill. And yet they still don't want to give up eating the poisons that cause the problems. So it's a double-edged sword. Not only do you have to stop eating the poisons, but you have to be able to give it the time it takes to repair itself at a cellular level, because that's how we live. We live at a cellular level. So many people, I think, would benefit from really doing deep dives into cellular biology. You learn so much about life itself and death. And death. It takes 3 minutes to die. 3 minutes. It's not a long time. Stop breathing. Have something keep you from breathing for 3 minutes. Deprive your brain of oxygen from your heart stopping. 3 minutes. In every cell in our body, the machinery is going at such a breakneck pace, 24/7. It never stops. Doesn't matter what we're doing as an organism, the cellular chemistry never stops. It needs, at all times, the source of energy, the ATP. It needs oxygen, or else ATP can't be made. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. It's like your car running out of gas. When the fuel isn't there, it takes 3 minutes for your cells to die and you're dead. Now, that sounds depressing, but it's something that I think we all have to be cognizant of. We have to be aware of just how complex these mechanisms are, and how the single most important thing to keep us alive and healthy is nutrition and an adequate supply of everything that's needed, not only somewhere in the body, but everywhere in the body at all times, because otherwise cells will die. And when the body's deprived of oxygen for 3 minutes, everything dies. It's over. Certain things can still live on. Your fingernails will grow, your hair will keep growing for a while. But basically, it's over. 3 minutes. It is so fabulous, the machinery that we have, the organic machinery. And what do? We feed it plant food, which is the wrong nutrients. We overload our bodies with sugar because we're addicted to it. And we damage it. We don't kill it. We slowly poison it over a period of 20 to 40 or 50 years. And then we get older, we become 50, 60, 70, pushing 80 now. I'll be 77 in 5 weeks. Can I say I'm pushing 80? Sean Baker says he's pushing 60 and he's 57, so it's a scary thought, pushing 80. For 70-something plus years of that, I was destroying my body. And if it only takes 2 years to completely reverse all that destruction, and I have normal aging, which nobody can stop, even though they claim that they have magic pills for that too. If it only took 2 years, if it took me 77 or 75 years to create a problem and I can fix it in 2 years, that's quick. And for me, that's instant gratification enough. I don't want to get you all down talking about death and everything, but we are that fragile, I suppose. Where was I? I was saying hello to people, and then I got morbid on y'all. We have Eat Meat, Heal for Life. I like that name. Hey, fellow carnivores. He's glad to be here. Rosie says, Mitch, tomorrow I'm fixing scrambled eggs with salmon. You will like it. Boy, that was really good yesterday. That was really good. And that was the leftover salmon that I had from making those crispy pork rind coated fillets in the air fryer. And I paid like $13 and change for that piece of salmon and got the 2 meals out of it, which made it a pretty good bargain. MK is here. MK, I just had oxtail soup, just water. Yeah, I've never had oxtail. Everybody asks me if I've had it, and I always have to say no. And Terry wants to know what kind of mood Mitch is in tonight. Well, I think I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. I'm still not liking what's going on in our world, but I can't change any of that. There's nothing I can do. So try to change what I can. And we have here Tammy Pitarch. Is that how you pronounce it? Says hi to Rosie. And Paisana says good day to everyone. Trying to find people I haven't said hi to. Said hi to Victory already, I think. There's one, Wendy. Wendy Bacon, hello from Beaumont, Alberta. Hey, how you doing? And wow, that's nice of Matthew. Yes, it was. It was very nice of him to send me that song, and it's a real pretty song. And I'll play it once in a while. It's never, unfortunately, going to replace my egg-beating music and cigar lighting music. I've pretty well settled in on that. Coco complimented the Music Man, and everybody's complimenting the Music Man. Here we have Vicky Y. says hello. Sandra McDonald, how you doing, Sandra? It's just another channel giving Oprah... giving Oprah Winfrey a piece of my mind. Oh, God, yeah. She's a piece of work. She's on the Ozempic bandwagon now. She's, I think that's the newest thing. Weight Watchers, from what I understand, is now an Ozempic provider, and everybody's jumping on the GLP-1 agonists that I think are going to screw up more people than the actual poison that made them sick and fat in the first place, because you're screwing with chemistry that we have no idea what any of the long-term side effects could possibly be. I think it's dangerous, but it makes money. We can't rely on the government or the FDA. They sell their recommendations and their approvals to the highest contributors, and it's just that way, which is why you can't believe everything that you hear. And that let me take a second away from the chat. That leads me to my second point that I wanted to talk to, and that is this flurry of phony medical headlines that have come out over the past week. This was one of the things that really torqued me off over the weekend, was this the study that intermittent fasting, and Ken Berry released a video on this today, and he did a good job of explaining it. The fact that every news outlet on the planet Earth got a press release from the American Heart Association talking about a supposed study, which in reality wasn't a study at all. It was nothing more than somebody's hypothesis after reviewing some 15-year-old data from a large the unhinged database, trying to make a connection between intermittent fasting and doubling the risk of heart attacks. And Ken was right on the money, pointing out that our species has not been eating 6 meals and 5 snacks a day for the last million years. They have been fasting, intermittent fasting especially, eating meat for millions of years, and 250 or 300,000 of those years as our species of Homo sapiens sapien. And heart attacks, if you look back in history, were pretty much unheard of and unknown until 100, 120 years ago, early 1900s. He pointed out that all religions have some kind of fasting rituals involved. In the Muslim faith, they have Ramadan, 30 days of no eating from sunrise to sunset. The Jewish faith has fasts as part of their ritual. We've learned, those of us that intermittent fast, and I have been intermittent fasting since before I started carnivore. I was doing that when I was on keto. I wasn't hungry. I didn't want to eat. That's not bad for you. Eating the right kind of foods doesn't require you to eat every hour or two to keep pumping your blood sugar back up. I see. Bear with me 1 second, if you would. Somebody just super chatted me. It looks like $10, and that was from Gwen. And it's a super sticker, and I wasn't set up to find it. Let me find that on here and put it on the screen so I can thank her properly. There it is. It's from Gwen Cotton. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work, she says. I appreciate that. I really do. Very nice of you. Okay, now I'll see them I usually set up my screen over here to show me those things, so I don't want to miss them when somebody's kind enough to do that. But thank you, Gwen. I really appreciate that. Very nice of you. Where was I? Oh, I was talking about the intermittent fasting causes heart attacks. It's not even a study. Anybody that wants to hear Ken's take on the story, which was a good take, and he talks about the corruption, and he talks about what we've all known is that the American Heart Association, the American Medical Association, and the American Diabetes Association, the American Dietetic Association, none of them are giving out any advice that makes any sense or makes you healthy. They're giving out advice that makes you sick so that the pharma can sell you drugs, and we all know that, and the evidence of that is everywhere. And every time you talk to your doctor, you hear the same lines that have been proven wrong over and over. But unfortunately, they can pump out the propaganda and get the word out. And that's where the problem is. Because we want to fix it. We all know what the problem is. Anybody can tell you with a little research what's wrong. Every politician on the planet speaking at any election rally can stand behind the podium and tell you what's wrong and promise you hope and change. Unfortunately, none of them ever deliver. Or whatever change they deliver is a change from bad to worse. And that's what's happening. These associations, even the United States Department of Agriculture, their job isn't to make you healthy. Their job is to sell grain. We all know the problem. The problem with the problem is that these organizations somehow have credibility with 99% of the people out there. They have credibility. Because they're recommending all of that nasty stuff that those 99% of the people are addicted to. And we all know what happens when you try to get somebody to stop using any substance they're addicted to. They'll fight you tooth and nail. There's another human trait that we're all familiar with, and that is we believe what we want to believe. We don't believe what we don't want to believe. We all have our ideology. We have our own realities, which may not be the reality, but they're what our vision or version of reality is. And we want to hear people that reinforce what we believe because that makes us feel good. It makes us feel smart and superior. So we tend not to want to listen to people who are telling us we're wrong in any way because we don't like that. We fight against that. And once enough propaganda is out there, bullshit, stuff that's just pure wrong, and it's been out there for more than the lifetime of most people that are around today, that's all they know and it's all they've ever heard. And it becomes reality. And it becomes those things that, here it comes, everybody knows. Well, everybody knows that fruits and vegetables are good for you, and everybody knows that meat and saturated fat will kill you. I mean, everybody knows. My doctor knows. The American Heart Association knows. The ADA. Everybody knows. You can't tell a single human being that he's wrong without getting a fight. How do you tell everybody they're wrong and expect them to actually consider what you're saying enough to open their minds? We are not open-minded people in general. We cling to our ideologies, our beliefs, because none of us ever want to admit that we're wrong. And that's what anybody who's fighting anything that needs to be changed has to go up against. And if 99%, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, let's say 80 to 90% of the people know that meat is bad for you and saturated fat is bad for you because they've believed all of this propaganda, the raft of crap that's come down from these supposedly reputable organizations over the past 50, 60, 70 years. How do you tell them Well, you know, all this stuff you've heard from everybody that you love and respect, every professional, every doctor, every nurse, every dietitian, every government agency, everybody who's sworn to protect you and keep you healthy and your kids. How do you tell them, you know, they're all wrong and I'm right? If they don't put you in a straitjacket right there, you're lucky. But that's what we're fighting. And that's so frustrating when you know you're right. When we have seen the results of this, we all know people who've turned their lives around. We know that it is an ancestrally appropriate way to eat. We know that it's because of this diet, because of whatever changes forced our ancient ancestors to have to turn to animals, whether it was an ice age or it's what caused our entire physiologies to change. It caused us to grow bigger brains. And we have an archaeological record. We have millions at this point of fossils that have been unearthed from all over the world. We have the bones of these animals. We can do comparative anatomy. We can see in different iterations over the ages, because we can date these things, how one particular species morphed into a different species over millions of years due to environmental and geological pressures. We know this stuff. It's documented. And if that wasn't enough, to paint the picture of how all this happened, we have genetics. And we understand genetics. And we have decoded the human genome, all 3 billion elements of it. We know, we've discovered which genes are responsible for certain diseases. We know which genes are responsible for your eye color. If they were let loose with this, these designer babies would be very common. I want my kid to be super smart. I want my kid to have blue eyes. I want my kid to have brown hair. I want my kid to be 6'5". You know, we have a gene for that. We now know how to splice genes. It's fabulously dangerous. We're fooling with evolution, but we know the science, and the science works. And people that, for religious reasons or other reasons, say there's no evidence, they just got their heads buried in the sand. You can't argue with these people. You can't educate them because of what I just said. They have their ideology. They know deep in their heart that that's the truth and that you are being misled. And there's no changing the mind of somebody like that any more than there is of changing my mind to make me believe what they believe. We believe what we've learned all our lives and what we've been exposed to and what we've been able to figure out for ourselves. I'm probably wrong about a lot of things too, but I don't think I'm wrong about this. So here I go off on one of my little tirades again. All I'm trying to do is say hello to people here. How did I get off on this one? This is what happens to me when I make a video. My head starts over and it just starts coming out of my mouth. I'm hoping that I'm making some sense. Oh, how did I get this far afield? You know, I watch all these things back. And I yell at myself sometimes. You were talking about that, Mitch. How could you forget that? I was talking about the study. That said that intermittent fasting is going to give you a heart attack, and Ken Berry's take on it. And his take is absolutely right. The problem is he didn't blame the press. He didn't blame CNN, NBC. He blamed the American Heart Association for putting out a press release. And every friggin' news outlet in the world printed those headlines. And those headlines were criminal. They were so misleading and so authoritative as to be fact and actionable. How many people who were doing intermittent fasting and improving their health saw those headlines and immediately stopped and put an end to their journey of improving their lives because of a headline that was flat out fabricated from nothing? Ken Berry's answer was, we have to blame the American Heart Association and we have to change them. Have any of you ever heard the expression, don't hold your breath? I have a better expression. And my expression is, don't place your hand on your ass while you're waiting, because it will grow there. The chance of getting the American Heart Association to stop doing what they're doing is the chance of a snowball in hell. They have already printed 10 years ago in their annual reports that saturated fat is not a nutrient of concern anymore. Was there ever a press release that said, mea culpa, we're sorry, we told you saturated fat was going to kill you? Never mind, it's okay now? Not only didn't they tell us, they buried that little obscure sentence on page 600 and something of this report, where only Nita Teicholz and Gary Taubes actually discovered that it was there. They are not going to fix this. They're not going to admit they're wrong, because they're like everybody else, getting all their donations and funding from people that profit from the status quo of us eating grains, seed oils, and sugar, and being addicted harder than an addiction to any other substance known to man, and not even acknowledging that it's an addiction. And one day, it might be a long video, but I have to make a video explaining, I've tried to explain it in short pieces, explaining exactly at a cellular chemistry level why we are addicted to sugar. And I keep going off on this tangent about the sugar addiction is not like any other addiction that we have. These more modern addictions to chemical substances that somebody figured out can trigger that same survival response to force the animal to consume it. This is recent stuff. The sugar addiction goes back to animals that came millions and millions of years before the first hominin walked the planet. The sugar addiction is rooted in the need for survival food. It's the oldest, most ancient programming that we have. It's being capitalized on brilliantly by big food, big pharma, and all the rest of them. They're the consummate drug dealers of our time, and it's killing all of us. And they're not about to let the few of us little rebels talking about eating meat, they're not going to let us get away with it. And out comes a press release. Because anything that we tell you is good for you, they have to quash it before too many people actually figure out that there's something to it. And in the face of all this opposition, which is as much political opposition as anything else, we are making some headway here. More and more people are hearing about this stuff. That's the power of social media. And even though I'm firmly convinced that our message is even being throttled on social media, I can see that in the view counts, not only of my videos, but of everybody's videos. They are so far down over the past year, it's incredible from what they were. I don't care. If I get 3,000 views on a video, that's 3,000 people that have heard something they maybe didn't know, or maybe got a little reassurance that they were doing the right thing and stayed the course, continued, and gave this the time it needs to actually work. So that study came out. And then, today, just today, I'm, like we do, clicking through my YouTube feed, and I see that Eric Westman is reacting to the latest bit of news. Eating eggs causes heart attacks now. I mean, we all know, because everybody knows that how bad red meat is for you, and we all know how bad butter and animal fats are for us, but who knew that eggs were that bad? I mean, we thought they were bad back when the original cholesterol hoax came out. And the stuff we're finding out now about the whole cholesterol thing shows what a hoax it was. And yet, they're still telling you if your LDL is high, you're going to die. Problem is, now they're telling it to 90-year-old and 100-year-old people. So something isn't jiving there. And the people with the really low cholesterol are dying in their 50s and 60s. But again, the ideology is in place. Everybody knows. And some things, they just can't say, never mind, we're sorry. There's too many careers, too many business, too much investment, too much money, too many stores selling this stuff. The profits from our addictions filter down into every aspect of life, right on down to the guy who drives the truck that delivers the Twinkies to the 7-Eleven. He wouldn't have a job either if we weren't addicted to that stuff. The guy who drives the forklift at Sam's Club that brings out the pallets of Oreo cookies that they sell every day in 15 aisles full of this poison. Even the farmers that sell the milk that goes on the cereal that everybody eats for breakfast would suffer. Basically, adults aren't supposed to drink milk. So this would even affect the dairy farmers, I would imagine. So how do you build an entire society? And that's where the root of the problem is. How do you build an entire society, an entire culture around the celebration and worship of poisonous food, employ everybody, and those people that are employed spend their money too? So the clothing stores and every place, they spend their money. if they lost their job. And it would be an unthinkable economic disaster if everybody at one time woke up and said, uh-oh, we're poisoning ourselves. The good news is addicts can't do that. Even addicts who realize they have a problem can't stop. Look at the war on drugs. Have we actually fixed anything yet with all the money we've spent? Have we actually cured the drug problem? No. Well, sugar is a drug. So we have to be careful what we wish for, I think. I think that it took 100 or 200 years for this whole infrastructure that supports this industry, that employs probably 3/4 of the people in this country who grow the crops and harvest the crops and process the food, package it, big factories, and transport it, trucks and trains, and into stores and the retail stores on every corner, every convenience store, every grocery store, every gas station, everybody that has rows and rows and rows of candy bars and sugar. And we have dug ourselves our own grave, basically, and we're in the process of burying ourselves in it. But our whole economy revolves around it. Our lives revolve around it. Even our celebrations revolve around it. And that's just sugar. Let's not even talk about alcohol. Let me try something here, just for fun. Just for fun. I'm going to show you. I know that I go off on tangents, okay? I know that I go off on tangents, but that's what my live streams are about. Nobody really wants. I like to answer questions, but I'm not a doctor, and most of the questions that you guys ask are better suited to Chafee and Ken Berry. And I like to talk about bigger things and bigger concepts, and maybe how do we solve these problems. In my videos, I try to give you some insights and information into things deeper than just how to make bacon cheddar meatballs in an air fryer. And I do that stuff because that's helpful in the how, but I live in the why most of the time in my head. So I'm going to type into Google here. I'm going to type in there, how much alcohol is consumed in the U.S. each year. And according, that's not what I want. How much alcohol do Americans consume each year? It says here that how much alcohol is sold in the U.S. each year. I'm looking for, here it is. Here it is. 259.8 billion US dollars worth of alcohol. The average American, the 2021 national annual per capita consumption is 2.5 gallons of ethanol for people 14 years of age or older. An average of 535 and a half, don't forget the half, standard drinks each year. Per capita. I did see, when I looked it up one time, I did see something like 8.9 billion gallons of alcohol are consumed by people in this country. But if the average person has 550 or 60 drinks a year, that's a couple drinks a day. And that's everybody. I don't drink, so somebody else is drinking my 560 drinks. All I can say is, as a human species, you hardly ever see a human being anymore without a drink in his hand of beer, wine, or mixed drink, and consuming poison out of a cellophane bag of some sort, nonstop, from 8 o'clock in the morning until he goes to bed. And maybe wakes up in the middle of the night to have some more candy or cookies or cake or ice cream or whatever happens to be around. We have become, we graze. We don't eat anymore as a people. We graze. We eat like cows who have to eat grass all day just to extract enough energy to live and turn it into meat. We're not supposed to graze. We're supposed to eat once or twice a day, and even maybe not even every day. And yet, I'm watching TV. Here I am. I watch TV, and because I get so, this is so stupid too. I get so sick and tired of watching YouTube videos, listening to somebody who's been on carnivore for 7 days brag about how great it is. Talk about their blood tests. And if you think I'm kidding, I have that in my show notes right here. I'm not going to mention any names, channel names, or anything, but I did see a video come up on my feed. And it was titled, "I've been on carnivore for 7 days and here's my blood work. You won't believe it." That was the title of the video. 7 days. If he's only been on carnivore for 7 days, first of all, how the hell did he ever get any blood work done and get the results back? When did he get the blood work done? When he had been on carnivore for 2 days? You need years to see any real, permanent changes. But everybody's so excited when they get on carnivore. And I get so many comments. I've 10 days, 6 days, 12 days. Nothing means anything when you first start. You're throwing your body into chaos for a while. You know, it has to rewire itself, basically. You just can't gut a house and put all new plumbing and wiring in overnight. It's just too much of a job. It's not going to happen that quick. It has to happen in every cell of your body. And damage that's there is going to be. Nobody should be putting out a video after 7 days of carnivore claiming to have any authority or information that might be valuable to anybody. Yet I certainly encourage everybody who's excited about this to talk about it. And talk about what you're feeling and what your problems are, and things that people who are watching, who are trying to do this too, can identify with. Because that's what people want to see. They want to see somebody say things that are happening to them and they're familiar with. That's information that's actionable. That's something that they can use to make them feel better, to give them a little more direction, to reassure them that it will work. And that's what's important about making the videos like we do. Do we always hit the mark on that? No, it's hard to do. But people want to be able to identify, and if they do identify, they want to be able to use what they hear and compare to their experience And if they believe you and they're convinced that your experience is real and you sound like you know what you're talking about, maybe it'll help them identify where they're going astray a little bit. Like Ken Berry's video about the 13 reasons why your weight has stalled. So everybody with a weight stall can identify with that and maybe find an answer. And those videos are priceless. They're tremendous information. I strive to put out videos like that. I'm getting better at it, but I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I still go off on these tangents, but I'm trying to help. I'm pushing 77 years old. I tell people this is what happened to me. I try to give them some experiences that you all can compare to what my experiences were. And I can't always answer all your questions, but I can show you this is what's happened to me, and I've opened my life up to everybody for that reason. But I think that these you got to be careful when you start listening to people that have been on carnivore for a week. You should encourage them to keep doing it, but just, take everything with a grain of salt. And I suppose you should take mine with that same grain of salt. Most of you aren't getting enough salt anyway. But I saw that video. I saw that. That didn't bother me so much. I just kind of loved the exuberance and the excitement of somebody. It was like they found, the fountain of youth and the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow all in that 7 days. But I don't know how the hell they got the blood tests back. I had to wait 8 days just to get my last vitamin D level test back. Whoa. Look at this. Holy cow, what am I doing? Must be doing something right tonight. Hang on a second, I'll find it. You guys have, look at this. Wow, M385, I enjoy your content, thanks. Thank you. Here's to you, my friend. That means a lot. And very, very much appreciated. Oh, wow. Don't see too many of them. I was saying that the things that torqued me off and kind of had me in a evil mood on Monday morning were those studies that came out. The studies that every time we say something is good for you, we start doing it. We do it for years. We work miracles with this advice. We have people coming back from the dead, basically. We have people dancing out of the nursing home when the dementia goes away. We have people, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, IBD sufferers for 30 years. Some of them have had their colons removed or half their colons removed, have complete remissions of those autoimmune diseases. We have people whose minds come back to life. The mental clarity is incredible. All this by eating what we're supposed to eat. And there's no end to the bullshit and the so-called studies, which aren't, that they manage to pump out through this network of people that are just as corrupt as they are and are trying to sell newspapers and get clicks on the internet with spectacular headlines. It's as though the National Enquirer was the only source of news left on this planet anymore. The clickbait is everywhere. But when you see those headlines and it's something you're doing, you have to look. It's like rubbernecking on the road. when you see all the ambulances and the fire trucks and the smoke, you have to see what's going on. And they all count on that. They all count on the fact that they know this is something that hits everybody where they live, and they're going to look at it to see what it is. They themselves have no idea what it is. Do you think the people that wrote the press release at the American Heart Association about the fact that intermittent fasting causes heart attacks had any idea how they arrived at that headline? They even used the word latest study shows when there wasn't even a study. As Ken Berry described it, it was a poster at a conference. It was a concept, maybe. It wasn't even a hypothesis yet. It hadn't risen to the level where it even warranted funding a study, let alone doing a study and peer reviewing it. It was looking over some meaningless data in the unhinged database and trying to extract a conclusion that fit their agenda. And even when they got done extracting this conclusion, the difference in the two data sets they were looking at, the people that supposedly intermittent fasted, which wasn't even a thing back in 2004, 5, 6, and 7. What they were really looking at, according to Ken Berry. Ken Heron is a big drone YouTuber, and I get the two of them in my head. I keep remembering Ken Heron. Ken Berry. So if you're listening, Ken Heron, how you doing, buddy? According to Ken Berry, when they looked at the people and what they considered fasting was people that skip breakfast. Why did they skip breakfast? Well, they skip breakfast because, you know, they might have been hungover bad from the night before, or, you know, they would get up and be in a big hurry and you know, just get up and smoke a few cigarettes and then head out to the office. Anyway, there's a lot of reasons you miss breakfast, and it's not, and most of them are not conscientious intermittent fasting. But that was it. So they basically came up with the conclusions that the people who didn't eat breakfast, from what I gathered from where they got this information, had a 1.9% greater chance. And 1.9 is absolute risk. So that translates into a 90% greater chance, because 1.9 is 90% more than 1, of having a heart attack, even though when they compared the two groups for overall morbidity, all-cause mortality, there was no difference. So you figure, two groups of people, one skipped breakfast, one didn't. Out of all the people in that particular data set that they picked, there was no difference in all-cause mortality. In other words, one group didn't live any longer than the other, but they somehow managed to wangle out of that data a statistic that you're almost twice as likely to have a heart attack if you intermittent fast, when intermittent fasting wasn't even a thing back when they took the data, which was survey data, where they asked people to fill out a form, what did you eat last year? And they asked them a bunch of questions. In a real study, they would have looked for confounders. They would have eliminated smokers. They would have eliminated other causes to try to narrow it down, to make the only difference between two groups of people the fact that some people ate breakfast and some people didn't. And then, even if you could get some data, it might be more meaningful. And the overall insult about how this was thrust on us, jammed down our throats in a sensational and scary manner, was the fact that in any study, I don't care what it is, anything below 2 times is considered noise and statistically insignificant. So if there isn't a 1.9% twice the chance in a real study. They shouldn't even consider it statistically. They have to consider it noise. So on all barrels, this thing misfired. And yet, it was published in every news outlet in the world. In the world. And now it's becoming part of what everybody knows. Oh, thank you. Thank you. TJ Byers, thank you so much. Nutritional science isn't science, it's all epidemiology. You got that right, my friend. Thesis creation. The things you have to do to get empirical data for human nutrition would never pass an ethics committee. You, my friend, are 1,000% right, and obviously listening to Bart K as I. And everybody, as crazy as you all think he might be, even if you don't know who he is, should listen to Bart K talk about studies and statistical analysis. And the point that he makes about nutritional studies, in a nutshell, because you could go on for hours about it in detail, but in a nutshell, it is this. When you're doing a drug study, for example, you're doing a drug study, and you've got groups of people, and it's double blind, so not only don't the participants know what drug, whether they're getting the drug or the placebo, but even the people administering the drugs don't know. Nobody knows except maybe one or two people who are controlling the study. And it's all big secret. Because that way, it can't be manipulated. And then in that study, they have to look for other things in those groups of two people that could affect the outcome. You know, in other words, if you had two groups of people and one group was a bunch of smokers and 300-pounders, and the other group of people were non-smokers and athletic, it wouldn't matter who you gave the drug to, because right off the bat, you got one group of people that's basically healthy and one that isn't. But at least in a double-blind controlled study for a pharmaceutical, nobody knows what they're taking, because they put the drugs in the exact same looking capsules. Okay? So you get a capsule. You don't know what's in it. Could be milk sugar. Could be the drug. You don't know. If it's administered properly, you'll never know. And that way, reality comes to fore, and if the drug is actually doing anything, it shows up in the results they're looking for. That's a real study. Okay? Thank you so much for that, and I'm continuing to answer your question, or agree with you 1,000%. A nutritional study, you can't do that. You can't have a placebo that people won't know what the hell they're eating. Let's suppose I'm doing a study, and one group is going to get Oreo cookies, and the other group's going to get Lay's potato chips. How the hell would I keep the people eating the potato chips from knowing they're eating potato chips, not Oreo cookies? You can't. You can't hide what the people are eating. They're the ones that are eating it. And what are you going to do? You're going to lock them up in a room and keep them there for the whole length of the study so they can't run into the 7-Eleven and grab a Twinkie? If you ask them, hey, have you gone to the 7-Eleven and grabbed it? They'll say, of course not. I'm in this study. But you don't know if they're lying or not. You have no idea what the hell they're eating when they're not there to get their Oreos or their Lay's potato chips for your study. Then, how long will this study have to be? We already know it takes 20, 30, 40, 50 years for these foods to kill us and make us sick. So how are you going to do a study like that? How are you going to control what a human being eats for almost a lifetime. So you can see who dies first. You can't. And how are you going to account for the differences in the environments and the physiology and the genetics of these two different people? So what Bart Kay says is the only single way that you could do a nutritional study as controlled as a double-blind drug study would be to find as many sets of identical twins as you could, get them at birth, lock them away for life, control every aspect of their life to make sure that each twin is having exactly the same life, eating exactly the food they're supposed to eat, sleeping exactly living an identical life for a lifetime. And even one set of twins wouldn't be enough to get any meaningful results. You would need many, many, many sets of twins. So let's see. I have an idea. I want to do this study. How the hell would I ever get some ethics committee to approve locking up hundreds of infants for life and controlling every aspect of their life like slaves, just to find out whether the people that ate the meat died before the people that ate the sugar? You can't do it. It is the height of absurdity. But to get any results that are meaningful, this is what you'd have to do. So for nutritional studies, we turn to a science called epidemiology. And epidemiology is like a survey. You know, you ask enough people, hey, what'd you eat yesterday? Okay, and you keep track of that, and then you try to compare one group to another. But the results from those things are guesses at best. And that data can be manipulated any way they want. And don't you think the people that put up their money, millions of dollars, to have these studies have an agenda? They all go into the study with a predetermined outcome that they want to see. And if these studies don't show what they don't want them to show, they file, there's a term called file drawer. They file drawer them. They own the studies. They paid for them. They don't have to make them public. Do you know how many cholesterol studies are file drawered out there that actually showed that the people who took the statins died much more than the people who didn't? They've dug up already a few of those that were hidden. They found them. They found, was it the Minnesota Heart Study? One of them, they found computer tapes in somebody's basement and managed to get the data off it. It showed that that whole study was backwards, that the data showed the exact opposite. You can't believe anything. You believe the government when they tell you what inflation is? Your car insurance doubled, your rent doubled, and they tell you your Social Security check's going to go up 1.3%? To cover inflation? You believe that? Everything is manipulated. I hate to say this, my friends, because it's depressing, but in case if you don't know what the definition of a mushroom is, we are mushrooms, all of us. The definition of a mushroom is when they keep you in the dark and feed you shit. And that's the definition of a mushroom. So they think we're all mushrooms and everything coming out. And that's why on Monday morning, after a weekend of being treated like a mushroom, I was mildly aggravated. And if you've gotten to know me, you know that what's on my mind, I don't have filters. It just usually comes flying right out of my mouth, and people don't like it. They don't have to watch. But that's what's happened to us. And the only ones of us that can survive and be healthy are those of us that learn to recognize this BS and confidently make the changes, knowing that it's BS. And the more of this that we find out is BS, the easier it is to be confident that we're doing the right thing. It's so easy for me to laugh at my doctor when she panics over my 340 LDL. And the older I get and the healthier I seem to get lately, the more I laugh. And now we're finding out so much about this new lipid energy model that it's true. And I've had high cholesterol all my life, and the first thing I did when the doctor told me I needed to go on a statin was I started to do the research. And the first thing I did was they did have search engines back then. They were the very beginnings of Google. I typed 2 words in the search engine, 2 words, cholesterol hoax. That's what I typed in. Try it. It's eye-opening. Hundreds of thousands of pages pointing you to studies and articles and videos and all kinds of things of people, great scientists and doctors and people like David Diamond, people like Malcolm Kendrick, people that know how this stuff really works, understand lipid metabolism and understand lipoproteins and understand their job and understand how they interact with everything else in the body and can explain exactly why the older people get, the ones that live the longest, seem to be the ones with the highest cholesterol, and why it has never, ever been a marker of heart problems. They've been barking up the wrong tree. They don't want to look at inflammation, glycation, oxidation, and all of the things that are caused by poisoning yourself with too much sugar, industrial seed oils, and grains with all of their anti-nutrients and lectins and other chemicals in them. And building materials that are trying to turn the human body into a hybrid of a plant and an animal. It is absurd. And the more that I learn, the more my head explodes. I say, how can people not understand this? And then I look at the people. I look at the people in the neighborhoods where I live. And what are they doing? They're partying and drinking, consuming enormous amounts of alcohol, eating enormous amounts of junk food from morning till night, nonstop, always popping something into their mouth. Always. Constantly. And I say, I used to do things like that. How could I have done that to myself? Didn't know. There was no 77-year-old bald-headed angry guy yelling at him on YouTube. But that's where we are. And I don't know if I really didn't have the intention of going off like that on this live stream, but I hope that I appreciate the super chats. And TJ, that was right on the money. None of these studies. The thing that's absurd about that study I was talking about with the intermittent fasting, it wasn't even a study. It wasn't even a study. It was a public relations move. These carnivores and these keto people, they're gaining a little bit of credibility. We better nip this in the bud. We better throw another scare into them. They're getting really, really good at that. They're right up there with political opposition research in figuring out ways to fool people, to make people afraid, and change the way they act and react. It is what it is. So you got a choice in this world. You either have to be aware of what's going on and ignore it and not participate, or live in fear all the time. And that's why I don't care about blood tests and numbers and everything. I don't care about what my weight's doing. I have learned, and I know I'm allowed to know what I know. May not be what you know, but it's what I know. I know that there's nothing else that I can change in my diet that would give me a better chance at living healthy for longer than what I'm already doing. So why do I need to monitor this stuff and worry about this stuff if I'm not having symptoms? People brag at me, why don't you get a calcium score? Don't want one. Don't want one. 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, I had brain surgery while I had that subdural hematoma from an accident. And while it was in there, they did ultrasounds of all my coronary arteries and everything. And there was, they told me there's no problem. Everything's clean. And that's all I needed to know. And I've been eating so well that I'm absolutely convinced, especially with some of this new study, that the way I'm eating is not what builds up plaque and has it calcify. Why would I want to go in and maybe get a reading that came out wrong and now I panic and I worried? I don't want to worry. I'm just going to live. If I keel over one day, you can all say, I remember Mitch. I'd rather not worry about that shit. Sometimes it's great not to know things, especially things you can't really do anything about. And if anybody thinks I'm going to trust modern medicine to manage my metabolic health, they got another thing coming. They're wrong, I think. Their idea is $1,000 a month injections so you don't want to eat. That's nuts. That's nuts. We're doing the same thing. You know how many steaks you can buy for $1,000 a month? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. What did I just see? Holy mackerel, look at this. Rahal. S. Rahal. Thank you so much. I really like my show. Thank you. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. So much. You guys are being incredibly generous tonight. And it means something. It means a lot to me. So thank you again. I appreciate that. And that's Canadian, so you're up there in Canada. I hope things warm up for you very soon. And I hope you keep coming back. Because I would be happy on YouTube doing nothing but live streams. I mean, I enjoy these things so much more than just standing there talking into a camera, making bacon and eggs. But I love it. I love talking to you. I like interacting. I'd have to do a 5-hour live stream to probably be able to interact with everybody enough. But in case you can't tell, I'm pretty comfortable doing this now. I wasn't always that way, and I enjoy it. So let me do this. We're coming on an hour and 40 minutes. Wow, time just flies. Let me go down to the bottom of the chat and take a quick look at what people are saying and talk to you all instead of just talking at you. I'm going to start right up here. Oh, here's a compliment. I'll start with this. Ruby Red. Mitch, I treasure your knowledge and thank you for sharing with us. Well, thank you. Thank you. Let me make sure my head doesn't swell up too big here. You guys are talking to each other. Several Dr. Chafee Bubbas here. Good to see them. Oh, I didn't know Dr. Chafee had Bubbas, but that's great. Here is Scooby the Dog says he's a lead mass hyper responder. LDL is 311. Yes. If I was Ken Berry, I'd say huzzah. I don't even know what that means, but I think it means like something good. Mine's 340. HDL 118. Holy mackerel. Mine's only like 77. You are. Triglycerides 53. That's great. BMI 17. Wow. You are thin. My BMI is a little under 20, and people tell me, "Oh, Mitch, you're too skinny. You're wasting away to nothing." Everybody tells me that because everybody's 50 to 100 pounds overweight minimum. Yeah, I guess I am wasting away to nothing. I have to any thinner, I'm going to have to shop in the kids department pretty soon. But CAC score is 0. Doc sent me to a cardiologist. Who was it that had a video? It was, I want to say, Paul Mason, the Australian guy. If you got to know who Paul Mason is if you follow this stuff. And if you're not, you need to watch Paul Mason's stuff. Fabulous insight, smart guy. Ben Bickman, too. Those guys like that are on it. And Paul Mason had one of his patients came to him and said that he was trying to get life insurance and he couldn't get life insurance because his cholesterol was too high. I had that same problem way back when. My cholesterol was too high, I couldn't get life insurance. So he started talking about this guy. And he was talking about him, and he's just like our friend here. He was thin, athletic, like a marathon runner, perfect health, no problems, but his cholesterol was high. And it was absurd. And then when he got all done talking to him, and he showed a picture of this guy. And it was a shocker. This guy was a perfect specimen of what a human male should look like. Perfect proportion, everything muscular, thin, healthy, in his 30s or mid-30s. And this is who the life insurance company wouldn't insure because his cholesterol was too high. And that's the absurdity of this. And they want to send you to a cardiologist. This guy's going to want to put, he's going to put you on a statin, and the next thing you know, you're going to be having angiograms done so they can decide where to put the 10 stents in that they want to put. It's nuts. It's crazy. It's crazy. There was a video came out today, and I saved it off, and I may do a video talking about it. And the name of it was Medicating Normal. And it was more about mental health, but the video is a story about how they're putting so many people on these sleeping medications and ADHD drugs that are normal and killing them and ruining their lives with these drugs. Drugs that are designed for short-term use, and they get these people on these things for a lifetime, and they were telling the stories of how these people had their minds and their lives destroyed by these psychotropic drugs. Criminal. It's absolutely criminal. Absolutely criminal. But that's great, Scooby the dog. You keep doing it, man. You keep doing it. You guys are getting along great in the chat. I really like to see it. Florida's here. How you doing? Good to see you. I think carnivore with the increased saturated fat consumption has helped me mentally out of a so-so frame of mind to many more good mood days. You know that's true. You know that. I was, with all the disaster I had in my life and the financial bad luck and everything, I was depressed and ready, my brain fog all the time. This lifestyle has brought me back to life. And I dare say, I'm not bragging when I say this, I was always considered myself a very intelligent man. I have never been able to analyze things and figure things out at the level that I can now in my entire life. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Even my eyesight's getting better. My hair is getting darker. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Year and a half, a little more than a year and a half on carnivore. Not all these changes happened in the first year. Some of them are still ongoing, but they are happening. Now, I'm not going to get younger. I am going to get older. I'm going to, things are going to sag a little more. That's just aging. There's nothing we can do about that. But God, I'm going out kicking and screaming. Uh-oh. I'm back. Are you there? Can you hear me? I'm back. Can you hear me? I think I'm back. I think I'm back. Somebody tell me if I'm back. I think I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. Okay. Yes. Okay, good. I don't know what happened. Everything, everything just disappeared on my screen. It disappeared. And a browser came up and it said restore pages. I said, worth a shot. So, I mean, my studio system didn't. This thing over here where I control the scenes and all that, and the chat window stayed there, but the whole thing just disappeared. And I got it back. Good. Time to go anyway, almost. But so sorry about that. But that's the way. Scooby the dog says, "Holy moly! It looks like a NASA station." It is. It is. It's 3 monitor setup, and I'll tell you what. If you do any kind of computer graphics work, web design, or anything like that, or even live streaming, you need the real estate. You got so many different things going on all at once. But well, thanks for hanging in there. We lost about 25 people. Didn't want to wait, but it's getting late anyway. Florida says Mitch is wearing pants. I'm wearing short pants. Yeah. Yeah, it has to be cold for me to put on long pants. Okay. Anyway, maybe it's time to call it a night. I start these things and I say, well, maybe I'll go for an hour and a half at most. Don't want to drag it out too long and bore everybody. Old show business adage says always leave them wanting more. And then I get started and then it creeps up on, always does, creeps up on 2 hours. Andrew H. just woke up. Wow, man, sorry to wake you up. But good to see you. Good to see you. So anyway, you guys know that if I'm in the middle of a live stream and I just disappear, StreamYard, the streaming software that I use, if I disappear, will not end the stream. I have to be gone for like 30 minutes before they decide something's wrong. So just hang in there. Hang in there, which is, in my old drone days, it happened like we had a power failure or a thunderstorm or something. And if I had a couple of people in other windows, they were still there. And they used to love that. It was like when the cat's away, they would go nuts and take over my whole stream until I managed to get everything booted back up and get back into it. But if it's just a short-term thing, like what happened to me, I don't know what it was, I can always actually jump right back in when I get everything working again. So keep ranting, Mitch. Okay. People seem to like that. I think most of my rants are based in reality. I don't want people to think it's nonsense. I think I'm telling truth and reality here. Something I wish I could hear more of. There's a lot of great people on YouTube in our space that are realists. And I absolutely appreciate listening to them and learning too, learning from these people. Yeah, so many of all my windows are doing screwy things here. Let me close that one here. I better not fool with it. I better just say, I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. And I think I'm going to call it a night and reboot the whole computer. So let me do this. Get a little music in here, which I hope you can hear. And thank you all. Thanks everybody that was here tonight. Thank my private community members. We'll see you guys on Thursday. I wanted to talk about all the great air fryer adventures that I've had, but we'll leave that for another time. Thank you for spending time with me. Very nice of you. So I'm going to try to figure out what went wrong so it doesn't happen again. And while I'm doing that, you all just take the rest of the day off and eat meat.